Hey guys, it's Adrian, and I have another Otome video for you. So today we're talking about Him the Smile and Bloom. So I got a review key from PQ Games through Keymailer. Thank you to both of them. I really do appreciate the review keys. I also do appreciate getting early access because the game does drop on February 27th. It is coming on Steam and to Nintendo Switch digitally. There will be a physical Nintendo Switch copy later, but I believe the release date is later. So I got a Steam key. I'm a Steam girly. I was so happy to get a key, and I've been playing it on my Steam Deck. It runs really good on the Steam Deck. Only complaint is you can't tap to continue on, but that's fine. I'll just push buttons. It's whatever. Okay. Um, Him, the Smile and Bloom is also referred to as Hanakare. That's like the shortened name for the long Japanese name. I don't know the full name, but Hanakare actually was released in August of 2024. And let's see, it's February 2025. So that's a very short amount of time for us to get a game, released in the West in comparison to like when it was released in Japan. I'm kind of used to usually like a year at least minimum in between. Now, one thing that helped with that is when Mintlip released the game in Japanese on the Japanese Nintendo Switch and the Nintendo Switch eShop, they actually provided an English translation, and it was actually pretty good. It's not bad. Um, so that did make it kind of easier to bring it over. Now, Mintlip did not bring it to the US eShop. They didn't bring it physical to Switch in the US or the UK or anything. They didn't really do any marketing. They just had an option to play the game in Japanese or English, which is still really cool. I'm a big fan of. I hope more games do that. Uh, Basically, to be like, hey, we are kind of aware of our English audience, our English speaking audience. Because, for example, while the game was not on the US Nintendo Switch eShop, you could sign up for the Japanese Nintendo eShop and download it that way, buy it off of there. Or you could also buy the Japanese Nintendo Switch physical version because the Nintendo Switch is not region locked. So a lot of people played this game already in August. I'm a little bit on the lazier side. I didn't want to figure out how to make a Japanese eShop account and mess with that. I'm sure it's really not as hard as I think it is. I'm just incredibly lazy, guys. Okay. That's just the reality. I'm incredibly lazy. Um, so, but I love this game, and I loved it before I played it because I love the artist. So you see this wonderful art in the background? This is my favorite Otome game artist. She did the art for Cupid Parasite and the Fan Disc, Nine Rip, Cafe Enchante. This is my favorite Otome game artist at the moment. I'm sure, like 20 years from now, maybe someone else will beat it. But for right now, I'll play any game this artist works on and be happy. Okay. Cupid Parasite is like my favorite game. Okay. Cupid Parasite is 10 out of 10, and a big chunk of that, on top of just like all the guys being great, but a big chunk of that is the art is fantastic. So yeah. So I wanted to play this game really bad, and around the time I was actually considering to figure out how to either get a copy off of Play Asia and spend a lot of money, or potentially figure out how to get it off of the Japanese Nintendo eShop. PCube actually announced that they're going to bring it over, and I was like, well, I'll just wait. PCube did say they were going to update the English translation, um, which personally I wouldn't have cared because PCube always brings their games to Steam, right? And I love to play on Steam. I love to play on my Steam Deck. So even if they didn't update the translation, I would not give a crap, and I would still be like, yeah, let's go. That being said, PCube intended to update the translation. They announced not too long ago that the updated translation was not ready. So what it's releasing with the game at the moment, I believe, is the English translation that came out with the game, the Japanese game. And PCube will later push out the updates. I'm planning to play through the game as is right now because I want to play it right now. And I may come back and play through the game again and see what PCube's translation does, what the changes are. I'll be honest, with how far I've played so far, the English translation is good. So again, I'm here for the fact that they brought it to Steam. Anytime someone brings an Otome game to Steam, I'm going to support them and be happy. Okay? Now, Hanakare. What is Hanakare? Hanakare is this video game, and it's about four guys who work in a flower shop, and Potential significant others. Okay. I don't think anyone is actually 100% dated or in a committed relationship, but I've only done one guy so far. But Hanakare is set up a little bit different because you have four guys and their significant others. So instead of being a typical, you have one female main character and you have the reverse harem thing going on, you have a designated female main character and then the male lead for that individual story. So there are four stories. The first one I did was Hokuto, so the purple haired guy on the back, and then that is his corresponding female main character. She has a name, I don't remember it. I renamed her to Adri Theron. Okay. Um, whoops. And so, but like, she has pink hair, and I love any female main character with pink hair, and he has purple hair, and it's really kind of giving me like Lynette and Alan vibes. So they were absolutely looked super cute. They were my favorite, so I'm like, I'm gonna play them first. So what is going on with this couple? What is their story? What is going on? They are childhood friends. They live next door to each other, and when they live next door to each other, I mean like their balconies practically touch. They can basically cross balconies into each other's rooms. Um, they have known each other for like 20 years. So since she was like 3 and he was like 7, there's like a 4-year age gap. They've grown up together. They're childhood friends. And it's the typical childhood friend trope where the girl is helplessly in love with the guy and the guy has not 100% noticed or cared. And I'm a sucker for that trope. The only trope that kind of beats that for me is like the yandere love interest, and this is why I really like Caleb and Love in Deep Space because it's a childhood friend and the yandere, right? So yeah, so childhood friends. You know, so like the female main character has been pining after Hokuto for like 10 years. I'm like, damn girl, I would have gave up. I'm sorry, 10 years is a long fucking time, and he's not exactly oblivious. So it is pointed out that you did confess to him like 10 years ago, and he's basically like, you're a sister. I would have been like, I'm done at that point and moved on. So I commend her for her dedication, I guess. Um, but yeah, so but the funny thing is basically everyone in their lives, their parents, their coworkers, all their friends are like, "What do you mean you guys aren't dated?" Because they basically act like a couple already, but they're not dating. And he's just like, "Oh, that's just my childhood friend. That's just my sister." And he's full of shit. He does not That's not how you act with your sister. I'm sorry, guy. Okay? Um so it's very funny. This game is very slice of life. It's modern day set in. There's nothing fancy. There's no magic going on, um, which is kind of refreshing after the last couple of games I've played was like Nine Rip with the Spirit World and Gensomana J with all the magic. This is kind of refreshing. This is also a more mature story. The main characters are both adults. Female MC is like 23, and I think Hokuto is like 27. I'm not sure exactly his age. I'm guesstimating. Um, and so in that aspect, the story can get a little spicy. And I've been dying for spice. I've been like, where's the fucking spice, guys? Okay. This is what I needed. Okay. After playing 2 games where the main characters are like 16 and 17, I needed a Otome game with an adult and they can do adult things. Um, So I'm really excited for the next 3 routes too, because I'm just like dying and loving it. And I'm like, yes, I'm getting my adult romance after like a year. I can't remember what was the last spicy game I played. Probably the Cupid Parasite, Sweet and Spicy Darling. Actually, I'm silly. I can figure that out really quick. Um, so okay, so a little bit about like them. Okay, the female main character you play as, I don't feel like she's a super duper strong female main lead. I don't know. I feel like she could be, but she's definitely like pining after Hokuto real hard and like, oh gosh, will he notice me? Will he love me? I kind of felt sad for her a little bit. So I was just like, oh, I feel bad for you. Um, and then whereas Arnott, God, I use the word Arnaud. So she kind of like the pity I feel for her is like the pity I felt for Arnaud in most of Ginso Manage. Of it's like, oh man, the person that you are trying to like love, the person you love, is just not noticed and it's not connected. And I'm like, oh, I feel so bad. It's just like Arnaud. Um, so Hokuto, he is very much a gentleman. He is like, he very much tries to come across as a very caring older brother. You can make an argument kind of like a senpai, older senpai stereotype. He very much loves you, the female main character. He loves you. He wants to protect you. He wants to take care of you. But not okay. So from the reader's perspective, it's very much obviously from a romantic love perspective, but he's stupid. I'm just gonna put that out there. He's kind of dumb. He's a little bit oblivious to his own emotions. He has not figured out that he likes you. It's obvious to every single other person except for the female main character. She has no idea either. They're both oblivious fools. Um, but like, so dumb. But he's very kind and he's very protective. He wants to take care of you. And like you guys spend all your time together, you guys hold hands a lot. You should just be dating, but you're not. And basically the whole plot line is will he love me? Will he figure out that I'm in love with him and will he love me back? And the female main character is kind of like, you know what, even if he doesn't love me, I just want to be a part of his life. And I'm like, no, no, what are you doing to yourself? What are you doing to yourself? You need to find someone who loves you. Luckily enough, this is an Otome game. He does love her, and he will eventually figure it out, but it's shenanigans along the way. Now, this kind of comes to a head, like, you have to go on a work trip, and you're kind of like maybe I need some time away from him to, like, disconnect from him and move on with my life. Um, so that the kind of like complication in the relationship is like you're going on a work trip to America and you're also going with a male coworker, and this is kind of what prompts him to freak the fuck out. So it's pretty funny. There's quite a bit of spice in his route. I'm be so sad if this is the spiciest route and this is the one I started with. I'm kind of sad about that because now I have expectations for everyone else to be super spicy. So I'm like, they better be spicy. Um, I really enjoyed this route, if you can't tell. I really did. I enjoyed this game. It's very short. My one complaint is it's pretty short. I think it took me like 4 or 5 hours to complete. This is not a very long game in general. I don't exactly know what the pricing is on the game. Again, I received a review copy. So I am, once it releases on the 27th, I'm going to take that into a factor of whether I recommend it or not. But just from a gameplay and story wise, even though it was short, I loved it. I would love a longer story for the two of them, like another 4 hours. That would make me so freaking happy. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know if there's any intentions to have a fan disc for this, but I would take a fan disc in a heartbeat. Um, also another thing I forgot to mention, you guys live next door to each other, right? Your parents are like best friends. And again, when I said everyone thinks you're dating, your parents are kind of just like, whatever. Your parents are like best friends and do karaoke together. And I think they kind of just are assuming the whole time that you'll eventually get together. Because again, how can either of you have a boyfriend or girlfriend when you are around? Like they're around each other. There is no room for any other significant other. So it's like these two are just knuckleheads, and they're the only ones who didn't realize, oh hey, you guys should just like you're practically married already. Let's just be real honest. You guys act like you're married. So the fun thing about this game is all of the guys work in the flower shop. So you don't see the other female leads necessarily. I don't know about the other routes, but I didn't see another female lead in this route. But the other male leads, the other guys from the other stories, work in the flower shop also. So they're like all four guys are basically co-workers and good friends, and it's really fun to see them all interact together and give advice to each other. So it was really fun getting to see the other male leads. based on the interactions with the other guys, I'm going to do Ginosuke next. Excited to start that. So that was also a fun aspect because like the other guys do pop up quite a bit. There are a couple side characters, like 1, 2, 3 I can think of off the top of my head that have really gorgeous character sprites. So I did like that. I love it when they have character sprites for the side characters. And I guess let's talk about kind of a little bit more of length. There are 15 chapters to this game. I kind of understand why they did 15 chapters because each chapter is kind of like its own little scene. I don't understand, but like these are very short chapters because again, it took me like 4 to 5 hours to finish all 15 chapters and the 3 endings. So there are 3 endings. There is the glow end, which is the best end. I got it on the first try. I did feel like the correct answers were a little obvious. Okay, I'll probably eventually make a walkthrough, but I did feel like the answers were pretty obvious. And then there is the glow bloom. I think it's bloom end, which is like a neutral end. Now, downside for Hokuto is he had a CG for the glow end. He did not have a CG for the bloom end. I'm not sure if that's normal for the other guys or not, or if it's just like the good neutral end and just doesn't get a CG. We'll see. And then the third end was the wither end. Wither is to die, right? Okay. The flower is dying. The love is dying. The wither end is the bad end. So I'm not going to give spoilers for like what the endings are per se, but I will give a warning for the wither end. The wither end is really bad. It's not rapey bad. So I'm not gonna say rapey bad, but the wither end is gonna make some people uncomfortable. Okay. Now I was fine playing the wither end. It did not affect me, but if you've been in like a very in the wither end, Hokuto turns into a yandere. I like yandere, okay? And it's kind of funny because in the just normal route, he doesn't really show your normal yandere traits other than like he is very overprotective of you, and there's some jealousy on occasion, but it's not like in just like the normal route. Like it's not like Toma, okay? It's not like Toma from Amnesia. So when I got to his bad end, I was like, oh, this is a completely different side of Hokuto. It's basically a very manipulative, abusive relationship. Okay. So if you've experienced that in real life, you should probably just skip the wither end, or fast forward it to if you want to unlock all the CGs. But that's kind of just a heads up: is that ending will probably make some people uncomfortable. Understandably. So, and yeah, it's, I've read worse endings in Otome games. I've had worse bad ends. Like this is not the worst bad end I've ever had. But it was like, especially if the music had like playing through it, I was like, I'm kind of uncomfortable. And I'm like, this is the yandere thing going on, which I do kind of like the yandere thing, but I'm like, ooh, this is like like sirens are going off in my mind. If this was real life, this would be extremely concerning. So and again, it's called the wither end for a reason. There is no like confusion of this is a bad ending. Okay. So the bad ending really surprised me. I'm kind of concerned how the other bad ends are going to go for the rest of the game. I don't know if this is the worst one. And I was like, oh, so apparently I just picked the crazy ones because like I loved Toma and Amnesia, locks you in a cage. I loved Futami from Charade Maniacs, and he also basically helps strap you in the alien world. And Hokuto is apparently extremely overprotective in his bad ends. So I found the secret yandere. So again, I like yandere, so that definitely surprised me. But he does kind of like, after playing the bad end, I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, I can kind of see it because like Caleb from Love and Deep Space is kind of a yandere, right? And I was like, oh, yeah, he kind of reminds me of him. Okay, so that being said, I finished the first route. There's 3 more routes to finish. The individual routes are pretty short, so I am hoping to actually knock this game out decently quickly for me. And next I'm going to do Genosuke. But yeah, Hokuto is currently my favorite. I'm probably going to guess he's going to stay my favorite, to be honest. But yeah, I love the game so far. I've enjoyed it so much. Okay, I'm blabbering on. Anyway, that's it for this video. I would love to hear about like, hey, are you gonna get the game? Who is your supposedly favorite love interest? Because you can play the game and sometimes it changes, but who are you most excited for? Anyway, that's it for this video, and bye-bye.